She showed no reaction to the crowd, who flattered and fawned over her. Her alluring eyes swept across the hall as though searching for something. Cody, could that be Ms. Harmon? Harper discreetly pointed at Natasha. She should be. I cannot think of anyone who has such captivating beauty apart from Ms. Harmon. Cody's eyes were bright, his face flushed, and his heartbeat accelerated. He had seen many beautiful women, but never one this enchanting. In that moment, he finally understood what it was like to fall in love at first sight. He'd willingly give up 10 years of his life to be able to marry such a bombshell, as expected of someone who ranks third in the beauty ranking. She truly is a feast for the eyes. Harper could not seem to take her eyes off Natasha. As a woman, she noticed that she felt no jealousy for Natasha. Instead, Harper was just blown away by her beauty. Right at that moment, Natasha, who was surrounded by people, seemed to have spotted something. Joy came over her, and she hurried toward a particular direction. There was no concealing the happiness on her face. Look, Cody. Ms. Harmon is heading our way. Could she be coming for you? When she saw Natasha approaching them, Harper was both excited and anxious. Coming for me? No way. Cody was taken aback and at a loss. He had been full of confidence earlier. But when he saw Natasha in person, he couldn't help feeling intimidated and inferior. She was so perfect that she seemed like an angel, so flawless and pure. Cody couldn't bring himself to even touch her. Why not? There are just a few of us here. If she isn't coming for you, then who else? Harper's imagination began getting the better of her, and she added, I think you must have caught Ms. Harmon's eye. That's why she's heading here to get to know you. Really? Cody took a quick look around and found that it was exactly as Harper had said. There weren't any people of importance around them that Natasha could be interested in. For a moment, he was both surprised and on edge. Could this be the day he lucked out? Be confident, Cody. Harper quietly cheered him on from the side. You're handsome, smart, and very charismatic. It's no surprise that you'd catch Ms. Harmon's eye. If you grab hold of the opportunity and win her over, you'll have a bright future ahead. With Harper's flattery and encouragement, Cody grinned widely and regained the confidence he lost. All right. If Ms. Harmon is interested in me, I can't let her down. I'll make sure I win her over today. Cody straightened his necktie and fixed his hair. Then, he puffed out his chest and walked up to Natasha with his head held high. He almost looked like a gallant knight out to marry his princess. Hello, Ms. Harmon. Cody walked up to Natasha and extended his hand. Just as he was about to introduce himself, he realized that Natasha paid him no attention. Instead, she walked straight past him. Then, under everyone's gazes, she jumped into Dustin's embrace joyfully. I've missed you, dear. I've missed you, dear. Under the incredulous stares of the guests, Natasha jumped into Dustin's embrace and hugged him tightly. They truly looked like a pair of lovers who were finally reunited after having been apart for a very long time. They were both intimate and passionate. However, their bold actions had everyone staring and gaping in shock and disbelief. Cody and Harper, especially, stood frozen in place as though they'd been struck by lightning. They simply could not believe what they saw. What was going on? She was the chairperson of Dash Corporation and the woman who ranked third on the beauty ranking. And most importantly, she was the granddaughter of a duke. What the hell was happening? Why was she so eager to show affection toward a poor loser? Cody's hand was still extended, but without realizing it, he had already turned his head to stare at Dustin and Natasha. The smile on his face stiffened, and his emotions churned. He was shocked beyond belief. Could Dustin have told the truth? The charming Natasha was actually his. But how was that even possible? Dustin was a nobody. At most, he knew some martial arts and some medical skills. There were countless people like that in Oakvale. He was as plain could be. But why? Why would someone like him deserve Natasha's attention? While Cody, who was handsome, young, capable, and talented, was completely ignored by her. Why? No. No way. How would this rascal even know Ms. Harmon? How is he even fit to stand beside her? Harper's eyes were wide. She refused to accept what she saw. In her mind, Dustin was just a country bumpkin who was out to make a living in Oakvale. He didn't have the right background, talent, or connections. No matter how hard he tried, he would only manage to scrape by. He would remain stuck in the lower social circle for life, never to break out of it. He wasn't even good enough for Harper, much less the granddaughter of a duke. They were truly a mismatched couple. Nobody could make any sense of what was going on. How do I look today, dear? Do I look good? I've spent a lot of effort looking good for you today. Natasha wrapped her arms around Dustin's waist, lifting her face to look into his handsome one. There was pure joy in her eyes. It had only been several days since they last met, but to her, it felt like a century had passed. Of course you look good. You always do. Dustin smiled and raised his hand to tuck a loose strand of her hair behind her ear. All his worries and anxiety faded the moment he saw the beauty in front of him. Even the air around him seemed to change instantly. Well, if I look so good, why don't you give me a kiss? Natasha lifted a finger and tapped on her luscious lips. Her smile was sexy and tempting. What? Dustin's smile froze. He lifted his gaze and looked at all the eyes on them coming from every direction. Would it be appropriate to display their affection so openly? I'm just pulling your leg. Natasha chuckled. I'd be shy with so many people watching too. We can continue this at home. A slight smile broke out on Dustin's face. What a seductive vixen. She hadn't changed at all. Here, everyone, allow me to introduce you. Natasha turned to the guests with her arm linked with Dustin's. She said with a smile, "This is my fiancé, Dustin Reese." Dustin Reese. The crowd exchanged bewildered looks and began to whisper among themselves when they heard what Natasha said. Who's Dustin Reese? I've never heard of him before. Do we have such a person in Oakvale? That's weird. As someone with wide connections, I've never heard of him before, either. So, do you mean to say that he's not someone special? But why would Ms. Harmon be interested in someone like him? Well, he does have decently good looks. Perhaps he's just one of those men who pleases women and makes them feel good so that he can mooch off them. The influential elites whispered, all looking baffled. As people of the elite circle, they were always very well informed. However, none of them had ever heard of the name Dustin Reese. Thus, they deduced that he wasn't someone from their circle, nor was he anyone of importance. But what they did not understand was why the high and mighty Natasha would get involved with a small fry like him. Was it true love? Or was it just an infatuation? Mr. Reese, I've long since heard of your name. A chubby, middle-aged man came up to Dustin with a smile. I'm Stanley Withams, owner of Skylight Heights Hotel. It's an honor to finally meet you after hearing so much about you. Hello, Mr. Withams. Dustin returned the smile. Though Stanley only said what he did to be courteous, it gave Dustin some comfort to hear something nice. To be able to establish Skylight Heights Hotel and make it so successful showed that Mr. Withams wasn't a simple-minded person. Mr. Reese, I'm Randall Kimmy, chairman of Goodman Corporations. Please show us some support in the future. Mr. Reese, I'm Rory Mays, assistant general of the City Defenders. If you ever run into any trouble in the future, just let me know. I'll be sure to handle it for you. Mr. Reese. After Stanley introduced himself to Dustin, more and more prominent figures crowded around him. They all flattered and complimented him, trying to gain his favor. They didn't know who Dustin was, nor did they care about his identity. Even if he was nothing but a pile of dung, they'd be polite and fawn over him so long as he had Natasha's favor. That was just the way of the world. Just moments ago, no one had paid Dustin any mind. But now, he was the center of attention because of Natasha. Everyone clamored to make his acquaintance. Dustin smiled politely at all of them, handling the situation perfectly. Why? Why is it him? Why isn't it me?